All right. How we doing? It's not Friday. God, I already screwed this up. Yesterday I thought I was having a meeting and I was messaging the person. I said, "Hey, can we push this back?" Because I thought it was Thursday, and now I just thought it was Friday. Oh, dear Lord. Well, hey, hi. It's Thursday, and it is March Madness, so let's get excited about that. I've already put my brackets in. I had my 16-month-old also select his bracket. And I've got a feeling he's actually probably going to beat me because it's the randomization of March Madness. Nothing ever makes sense. That's why it's madness. So let's get excited for it. Before we start watching March Madness and all that fun stuff, we do want to cover our top five, which you can see that in the top left-hand corner. So again, if you're on Instagram, don't be there. The vertical format just doesn't work. So I'm always horizontal. But I'm covering the top 25 predictions for the real estate market this year, or for the next 5 years. I've got some strange stories going on in the real estate market. I've got a big story talking about how the real estate industry is completely turned upside down. I feel like I'm in Stranger Things and I'm in the upside down now, but this is going to be permanent. And then I cover a few other things that are less really real estate oriented, but more money oriented, like shrinkflation. That's been all over the place. Our guy Biden talked about it in his State of the Union, but everybody's been harping on it. Even the Cookie Monster has. And yes, I've been watching a lot of the Cookie Monster because crew likes watching a lot of Sesame Street. So here we are. And then finally, we're going to close another thing out on Social Security. We hit that last week. We're going to hit it again because there's a lot of feedback of people saying, oh, I actually didn't know that about Social Security. Well, hopefully I can help you learn a little bit more of them. So that's our top five. Now, before we get into that, let's have a quick look at the markets. And just, again, this was from from yesterday when I pulled this, so it might have changed a little bit because guess what? The markets are very volatile and they move around a bit. But you can see all three major indices are in the green for the year. Our friend Bitcoin is still 50% up. Would be really nice to be in that, wouldn't it? 30-year mortgage has finally ticked down a bit. It's still above what it was at the start of this year, but it's at 6.74%. And then the Fed funds and the prime rate has not moved, but there were suggestions, of course, that the Fed funds rate would have 3 rate cuts this year. So, oh man, let's see if that actually happens or if we are just going to be very disappointed at the end of 2024. All right. Now, switching into our LinkedIn poll question, which it is still open. We just opened it a few days ago, so there's plenty of results coming in. But it's talking about March Madness, because that is what we are in right now, my friends. And yes, I'm addicted to March Madness. But it's asking how many people are actually going to fill out a bracket this year. And so far, the results have been about 80% have said they're going to fill out a bracket, or they're not going to do brackets, but they're going to do betting. 20% of you, what are you doing? It's so entertaining. It adds so much joy in most people's lives. But I get it. If you're not a sports fan, whatever. But hey, Crew's not a sports fan. He's still going to be watching it because, well, he filled out his bracket by just tapping all over the damn iPad last night. So yeah, the poll question's up. Let me know if you can't find it. All right, into our first top 5 story, the housing market, and what are those predictions? Well, you know I love predictions, and I really like making predictions when they turn out to be right. And then when I make predictions and they're not right, well, I can just say, hey, it was a prediction, right? And not everybody has a crystal ball. Well, if you wanted to catch a glimpse of some of the latest predictions going on in the real estate market for the next 5 years, I've included a link in our weekly newsletter about that. It covers everything from home trends to mortgage rate trends to housing inventory and demand trends and moving trends and home building trends. Like, you name it, they have it. And I would say, of course, the biggest prediction that I want to happen is mortgage rates. Like, that by far has the biggest implications on the success and failure of the industry. And hopefully we can get into something sustainable. So mortgage rates is big. Moving trends I always find interesting because you always want to understand where is the market shifting to, what cities are going to become more popular. And I can tell you, Florida is just a popular state in general. I think on the U-Haul report, it was about 28% of cities. Florida had 28% of the cities that ranked in the top 25. That's pretty impressive. All right. Anyhow, so that was story number 1, but you can check that all the 25 predictions out if you have a lot more time, which I know you don't have right now. All right. So the next one we're getting into is the strange real estate news. And yeah, this is a pretty cool picture. That is a penthouse. That was Matthew Perry, RIP, but it is now Rihanna's. And Rihanna has owned this for less than a year. And I think she bought it for like 21 million. She's now looking to sell that for 25 million. So that's just some of the strange news you're going to see in real estate. Um, and some people think it could go as high as 27 million. Now, I really don't understand it, but whatever. Other crazy news, which personally I didn't know this until I started reading about strange real estate news. Yes, I googled strange real estate news. Did you know Ellen DeGeneres is the top dog in home flipping when it comes to celebrities in Hollywood that like to do home flipping? I know Jennifer Aniston's in there, and there's a host of other people, but Ellen DeGeneres is far and away the most successful at doing this. I think she took like a $17 million place and sold for 25 million like the next year, just based on the modifications that she made. But people also have found, we always like try to promote these cool things like a wine cellar or a pool. It turns out home buyers don't actually like that because they don't necessarily like to have the maintenance associated with it. So always be careful when you're actually trying to upgrade the home that you don't put a feature in that you think is a big seller when in fact is a detractor. And then I already mentioned this on the Florida part, but yeah, they had 28% of the top 25 cities of people moving in 2023. That's a pretty impressive stat. So you can check out that news story, figure out which one you think is the most strange news story. There were some ones that were less PG there, so I omitted it, but you can certainly read that for yourself. All right, now we are going to shift into the massive shakeup in the real estate industry. Oh man. If you are a real estate agent, hey, which I am, but I'm not overly active in the space, I'm sorry, because it's going to get tough. So the NAR and Keller Williams, as you might be familiar, they got sued big time. And the latest settlement has the NAR paying about $418 million. That's a pretty big number. Keller Williams, I think, is paying close to $100 million. But what they've also found is that the new arrangement could greatly reduce the commissions that agents make on buying and selling a house. So nationwide, the industry standard, which has pretty much been fixed, has been 6%. And that, typically goes 3% to the selling agent, 3% to the buying agent. And a lot of people are asking the question then, well, what's the benefit for the buying agent to help the home buyer actually negotiate a better deal? Because they're getting a higher commission based on a higher sales price. And that's ultimately what the suit was about. And so there's a lot of expectation now, starting later this year, that those commissions could actually be cut in half from 6% down to 3%, which is actually more standard across most countries. It's just in America where we have it so inflated. With that reduction in pay for a lot of agents by 50%, you could see a significant amount of them leaving the industry permanently. You can read all about the impacts. I have a link to the article in my newsletter. But yeah, this is a big shift in the industry. And it could suggest that housing prices could come down just because, again, if the selling agent is no longer maybe in cahoots with the buying agent to promote a higher price, then you might have realistic purchasing. Now, that might just be too much of a pipe dream because realistically, the costs of homes are going up. That's all part of inflation. And it's also driven by interest rates, so that might actually be bringing it down. But yeah, this is a massive impact in the industry. And if you are actually somebody looking to sell a home right now, I would suggest waiting a few months until that new rule kind of kicks in and you're no longer paying 6%, but maybe 3% commission on the sale of your house. So yeah, big changes in the industry. Some people are extremely excited, like home buyers and home sellers. Some are not too excited, like the people that live off of those commissions. So depending upon which person you are, could get sad day or a good day for you. All right, so that was the NAR. Now we're going to pop something up here on the screen. And again, if you're on Instagram, you're not going to see any of this. But shrinkflation. Man, like I said, Cookie Monster was even talking about it to my son crew. So, that means some business, right? Well, I just popped up on the screen just some examples of things that are experiencing shrinkflation. And what shrinkflation really means is you maintain the price, but you reduce the serving size or the total quantity size. So, for instance, Fritos went from 9.75 ounces to 9.25 ounces. That doesn't seem like a lot, but that's actually, a 5% drop in what you're actually offering. You had Crest toothpaste, shrinking down from 4.1 to 3.8. Hell, if you're just going to do it, just take it underneath 3 ounces so I can take it on an airplane. And then you have like Charmin sheets going from 264 down to 244. Like that's fewer. You got raisins. You got 70 fewer raisins. So all these things, although it doesn't look like a major thing, your cost per unit is higher. And that's what shrinkflation is all about. So there's been a lot of hate around shrinkflation because it's just like, come on, like this is getting pretty ridiculous. And like I said, Biden's hit on it, Cookie Monster's hit on it. There's even a Senate report that found that household paper products had the largest price increase change in shrinkflation from like 2019 to 2023. And they're saying like a 10.3% increase. But there's also notable things like snacks got hit like 10%, cleaning products 7%, coffee 7%, candy and chewing gum and ice cream 7%. So it's not just like a select few are doing it. A lot of people are doing it. And yeah, go to your local grocery store, check it out for yourself. It is going on. So shrinkflation, not a big fan of it. Nobody's a big fan of it, not even the Cookie Monster. All right, thanks, Cookie Monster, for that education. Let's get into now our fifth and final story. What up, Artie? We are talking about our favorite thing, Social Security. It's actually nobody's favorite thing to talk about, but hey, it is what it is. A lot of people don't even believe that Social Security is really going to be around for people our age, 30 years from now when you're looking to retire. Legally, it does have to, just to be clear. But they can change it by, I think, 20 to 30% without any pushback from Senate or Congress. So if you're planning to rely on Social Security for the long term, don't. Make sure you actually have a much more financially informed plan for the long term for you and your family. And so one of those things that people got back to me on from our Social Security article last week was, well, hey, what else can you give me? And so did you know Social Security can get taxed? Yeah, I didn't really know that either until I really started looking into Social Security because I do try to take care of people that I love. And so the government regularly adjusts many things when it comes to taxes associated with inflation. So federal tax brackets, contribution limits for retirement accounts, the size of standard deductions and taxes, Social Security's cost of living adjustment or the COLA that I talked about last week. All of those things get adjusted based on inflation. But you know what doesn't and has never actually been adjusted is the federal income threshold to determine if you have to pay taxes on your Social Security benefits. This has never changed. They have never increased that. And so what that really means with each passing year, an increasing proportion of people or seniors that have been utilizing these Social Security benefits are reaching these new like low thresholds and having to pay taxes on their benefits. So depending on your so-called provisional income, up to 85% of your Social Security benefits can be taxed. I'm sure a lot of you guys didn't know that. I found that rather surprising. So let me get this straight. When you're an employee, you're paying your federal, your state, your local, your Social Security, your Medicare, your paid family medical leave. You're paying all those taxes. That's taken out of your paycheck before it even hits your bank account. And now, if this is even around in 30, 10, 20 years, I don't care. Now you are getting taxed on that income you're taking from what you were paying based on the taxes they were taking out. It doesn't make any sense. But that is the beauty of Social Security. So please, again, if you guys are relying on Social Security for your long-term success for a financial future, don't, you're screwed. Definitely find somebody to talk to about ways to plan much more financially sophisticated methods to living a happy retirement life. So that's my story on Social Security. Now we're going to get into our top 3 social posts. And so let's go ahead and find this one. Gary V. Oh man, this guy's entertaining. I hope you guys follow him across all of his social media channels. And I love kind of the meme that's sitting up there. Again, if you're on Instagram, you're not seeing any of this. But it's just a meme talking about when the 1 hour meeting could have been an email. Yeah. How many of you guys have been in a company where you have these endless amounts of meetings and it feels like nothing is getting done. That's pretty much the look on his face. So hopefully that gives you a good visual. And let's just understand that utilize Slack to your advantage, utilize email to your advantage, utilize text messages or a quick phone call. Don't schedule an hour meeting when it can be a 10 to 15 minute meeting or summarize it in an email. But if you're not going to have an hour meeting, then the person that needs to be informed needs to commit to either reading that text message, reading that Slack message, or reading that email. Because the only thing worse than having an hour meeting is the person that then has to write that recap in that email and nobody reads that then too. So yeah, love the Gary Vee part. Absolutely cracked up when I saw that one this morning. Now, what about this guy, Grant Cardone, a very polarizing figure, but I love what Grant talks about. And this is just an honest reminder of how you are using your income. And he says how to buy luxury cars. If you're a wealthy person and you like doing this, sure, I still would advise it, but they take their earned income, or what most people do is they take their earned income and they use that earned income to buy luxuries, like a really nice sports car. Now, that's kind of stupid. All right, I'll just tell you that. That's just kind of stupid. What the wealthy people do is they take that earned income, they put it into things like real estate or cash flowing assets, and they utilize those cash flowing assets to then buy those luxury items so that you're not just incurring your debt, you're actually taking positive cash flow to put it towards that. If you want to take it really to the next level, let's just recognize the fact that a lot of wealthy people don't actually show off their wealth. They don't, need to show the material things that make them wealthy. They're comfortable in their own skin, more or less. So honestly, if you're a wealthy person, just be smart with your money. You don't need to show off to anybody. Just enjoy who you are. You're going to have plenty of haters anyways. If you really like sports cars, get the sports car. But don't just get it to show everybody how wealthy you are. That's just stupid. All right. So, Grant, thanks for that, man. And then this one has nothing to do with real estate or money, but it has everything to do with my family. And this is my boy, Waffles, who is actually sleeping behind me right now as I record this. And man, it's Waffles' third birthday coming up in just a few days. So I would be remiss in not wishing that guy a happy birthday because he is man's best friend by far. And you know what's funny? His birthday actually falls on National Puppy Day. I swear, I'm not lying to you. You might be able to see it. Maybe you can't see it. But March 23rd, National Puppy Day. My man is, he is special. So anyhow, Mr. Waffles, this one's for you, buddy. We're going to play extra fetch for you this week. Extra treats and all that stuff. And yeah, he popped his head up and he is ready now. So anyhow, that is my third social post. All right, let's close this out with, you guys know it, the Sunday blog and the 3 dad jokes. And the 3 dad jokes this week are geared towards March Madness. But ooh, I don't know if you guys know this. I'm Irish. I like being Irish. I'm also German. I got some Native American. I got a lot of blends. But this past week was St. Patty's Day. And if you were a Guinness, well then, ooh, man, I feel bad for you because over 13 million pints of Guinness were consumed. So, ooh, boy. Anyhow, what I was talking about in my blog is, what is it about St. Patrick's Day? Like, why is there St. Patrick's Day? What can we learn about? What's some kind of cool trivia facts if you want those? But what's most importantly, how we always think about it, what's a good life lesson? So for those that, don't know a lot about St. Patrick's Day, here's the quick TLDR. It's in celebration in honor of St. Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland. And the day commemorates the arrival of Christianity in Ireland, which used to be very pagan. St. Patrick was originally from Britain. He was captured by Irish pirates when he was a teenager and was brought to Ireland as a slave. He then escaped, but then he came back to actually help serve the people of Ireland. And so that's and one of the most famous legends associated with St. Patrick is that he used the 3-leafed shamrock. If you're a Notre Dame fan, you see that constantly, to explain the concept of the Holy Trinity, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. So that's the reason why we have a St. Patrick's Day. Now, some fun trivia facts. It's a worldwide event. It's not just celebrated here in the United States. It's actually celebrated all around the world and in major cities like Sydney, Dublin, of course. It's in Tokyo, etc. Beer consumption, I already hit on that. It's 13 million pints of Guinness were consumed on St. Patrick's Day. That's pretty crazy. Has a major economic impact. Over $5 billion is spent on St. Patty's Day. And there's about 33 million Americans that are Irish. So that helps you kind of understand the ancestry of the United States. About 10% of the population is tied to Ireland. So that's pretty crazy. Now, what are the real lessons we can actually learn here? Well, let me give you the rundown on those. And there's 4 in particular that I think is most important. First is resilience. So with St. Patrick, I kind of mentioned you his life story. Despite being captured as a teenager and during slavery, he remained steadfast in his faith and eventually escaped to fulfill his calling as a missionary. His resilience teaches us the importance of perseverance in the face of adversity. So hopefully you are not enslaved right now, but if you have a lot of challenges going on in your life, you're going to need to be resilient because a weak mind won't succeed. And that's just this world is too vicious. It will eat you up. So you got to be resilient and focus on that. Have an end in mind. Forgiveness. I would be pretty pissed if somebody enslaved me. And St. Patrick famously returned to the country that did enslave him in order to help free them. His ability to forgive and his commitment to spreading the message of Christianity and the importance of unity and solidarity, like it transcends barriers. And so this exemplifies the power of forgiveness and reconciliation. I mean, who holds a grudge here? I know I hold a grudge, and I work every day for the people that I absolutely kind of despise. To try and find a way to forgive them, even though it's still hard for me to do that because, there's a lot of reason to hate right now. But yeah, St. Patrick definitely epitomizes the forgiveness element. And then there's unity. I said it's covered. It's celebrated worldwide by different ethnicities and religions and people. And so I think that's always a good thing when you have a worldwide event that isn't just focused in one area. And then joy and celebration is the 4th thing that I'd like to share about St. Patrick's Day. There's a lot of joy there. Maybe that's the alcohol talking, but there's a lot of joy there. Music, dance, food, and drink, getting together with friends and family. It's the importance of actually celebrating life's moments that I want to highlight, though, because finding joy in the company and others and appreciating those moments in time, not being focused on the past or of the future, but being present is what joy and celebration is all about. So there you go on the 4 major ones. Now, okay, I think all of us are probably fully aware of point 4, but how many of us have thought about the first 3 points? And I want to challenge you with some questions, or maybe just ask you some questions. You don't have to feel challenged here. Are there some challenges that you are fighting to overcome right now? Or is there someone you should probably forgive by now? Or do you have an us versus them mentality in this incredibly polarizing world? Or maybe it just feels polarizing because I live in the United States, and if you're a Republican, you hate a Democrat. If you're a Democrat, you hate a Republican. There doesn't seem to be a happy medium. But I want to challenge you again. Are you trying to overcome something right now? Are you trying to forgive somebody right now? Or are you trying to find a more unified way to look at this world? I challenge you to reflect on that and think about it a bit more so you can start being a better version of yourself today. So there you go on the lessons of St. Patty's Day. And finally, to close us out in the honor of March Madness, which, by the way, try to call me afternoon today, and you will not get a response from me because this is my holiday every single year. All right, so why do basketball players eat donuts? They love to dunk them. All right, second one, here we go. What did March say to the madness? What's all the bracket about? All right, third and final one for this week. What do you call an unbelievable story about a basketball team's underdog win in the Final Four? A tall tale. All right, that was so much fun. I'm so glad you guys were able to join us. Again, this will be loaded up onto our YouTube for the long term in case you guys ever do want to tune into it, because some news stories don't need to be live. They can always be reflected on because it's about the lessons that we learn. So take care of yourself. Hopefully you guys fill out that bracket. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.